All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Beast Wars Transmetal Rhinox. Now, right off the bat, I gotta say, if you're familiar at all with what this figure looks like, even if you don't have him, you'll notice right away that there's something very wrong about mine. I've had this guy since I was a kid, and when I was a kid, I lost the horn weapon that made up his, weapon in robot mode and the rhinoceros horns. And so I just sculpted a Sculpey piece out of Silver Sculpion and glued it in there. So this is not what his horns are supposed to look like. I did that so long ago. It doesn't really bother me because I'm just kind of used to it at this point. But just so you know, this is not what the horns on the figure are supposed to look like. Usually he's got like this big, ridiculous saw blade weapon, which I've never really liked the look of anyway, just because I thought it kind of got a little bit too far away from actually looking like rhinoceros horns, which is what it's supposed to be. But just to get that out of the way now, because it would be looking at this figure being like, what version has that? And then no version, it's just my version. It's yeah, they're not great, but whatever. Also, this is the Fox Kids repaint. I believe that the original one, all of the like blue bits were kind of like a silvery gray, and then the green bits were like a metallic turquoise. So this is yeah. And then also he's got a couple panels missing that clipped in here. Yeah, this figure's a little worse for wear, but it's mostly there. But yeah, no, he's got an all right rhinoceros mode here. Like I said, I've never really liked the way that the horns looked, and the head in general I feel like looks a little bit more like a weird fat dog than it does actually a rhinoceros. So yeah, I'm not crazy about the head, but the rest of it, I like the metallics, and I like that he's actually got like this hump on his back here to make him look like he's got, the rhinoceros like bumpy back. It's not totally there, but it's, about as much of a derivation from, an actual rhinoceros as most of the Transmetal designs are. So it works well enough, but lots of great sculpted detail on there. He's got lots of little, rivets and things all over the place. In terms of comparisons in this mode, just for a standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe for whatever that's worth. Here he is with Transmetal Rat Trap, the blue version, because I didn't feel like taking the other one out of the box, just so you can see what he looks like with another Transmetal. And here he is with Thrilling 30 Rhinox. I don't have the Kingdom version just because I like this guy better, but yeah, you can see what he looks like there. This guy was the definitive Rhinox on my shelf for a long time until this guy came out. And yeah, I mean, I feel like Rhinox works better at a larger scale, like a Voyager, rather than the deluxe, especially scaling with other figures, but that's neither here nor there. In terms of articulation in this mode, you don't get a whole lot. The front legs will end up being the robot mode legs, so they're on ball joints at the hips there, can rotate all the way around, or thighs, or whatever, I don't know. He does have a knee bend, so it kind of has to push this panel out of the way, and it only goes about that far. He has a little toe joint here, or a foot joint, rather, I should say. The back legs, you can rotate these, although they kind of start bumping into things and then becoming unlocked on their little joint here, so they don't really get a whole lot of range. And then he does have a hinge at the knee here, so not a ton. Like with a lot of these figures, it's just like, yeah, I mean, you can adjust the way the front legs are sitting a little bit, but mostly you're just having him stand like that, and that's okay. He does have kind of a neat tertiary like alt mode for the the Transmetal gimmick, where you take these pieces and you flip them up like this, and then you kind of lean his legs forward a little bit, and then you take the back legs, you take these tread sections on the thighs, and you rotate the lower leg into it and close it back up, and then you bring it down on this armature like that, so it kind of sits down like that, and do that on both sides, obviously. And there you have a little rhinoceros tank type thing. It's kind of interesting. This is the whole like back legs thing is a little bit weird, but at least it like actually transforms him a little bit more rather than just giving him like skids on the front legs here. But I don't know. I've always been kind of endeared to this mode, and here he is with Sideswipe there. And then I guess we can also just real quick put Rat Trap in his mode here, so you can see what the two of them look like together in their weird animal vehicle hybrid modes. Yeah, obviously Rhinox never had this mode in the show because he was one of the ones that kept his season 1 design, so he never actually upgraded to a Transmetal. But it's still neat regardless. And then to get onto the rest of the transformation, you pretty much take the back legs, you leave the legs inside the treads there, but you just clip these back up where they were like that. And then you can take, first of all, you'd have these panels that you flip out over these turquoise pieces just to get out of the way. And then you could take this section and slide it out like this. It will rotate around, and then you can kind of take the back here and kind of bring it up like this, just enough to unlock this section. So you can bring that up, bring this up, and then bring the legs around, compress this back in, and then take these joints here, and they'll kind of double hinge around and clip into this piece right here, just like that, to create the legs. Leave his little shoes on. Take these pieces on the chest and just open them up, and then rotate out the arms, split the head, and then bring it down like this, and then just rotate them forward at the elbows. And then this section I really like. It's you take this back piece here, and then it's actually attached to the panel that the head is on, and this whole thing flips around. And then the underside of this, it flips in like this, and there you have his maximal crystal actually in his chest, which I think is a really cool place for it. And then you can just close these pieces up and then take the backpack and just kind of bring it up and lock it into place. There we go. It actually does click into place. And there we have Transmetal Rhinox in his robot mode. And yeah, I really like this guy's design. I don't necessarily like it as Rhinox. Like, I really like the head sculpt, and it's definitely got some design cues from the original Rhinox, but just giving him like the mean sort of like angry face doesn't really feel like fitting in with the character from season 1, but whatever. And then obviously, like I said, mine's got this piece kind of glued in there, but usually you'd have that weapon, which you could have him hold as like a big saw blade, and then if you want, you could have him store it just by plugging it back into the shoulder, though I never thought that looked particularly good from the images that I've seen. It's been a long time since I've actually had that with this figure, like since I was a little kid, so I don't totally remember even ever owning it, but whatever. But yeah. No, otherwise I really like his design. I think it's I love that way the chest flips around like that, and something about like having his his abs here and his pecs just like locked together I find to be like really satisfying. I don't know what it is, just the way that it all fits together, but in terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so it can rotate around, gets a little bit of range. He does have the like back detail of Rhinox's head with like the weird thrusters sticking out, which is cool. The shoulders here can rotate around like this, and they can also rotate up at the body, so he does kind of have that thing going on where if you rotate his arm forward, you can't bring it out anymore without like using those joints in tandem. Although he also does have this joint for transformation, so you can kind of use that to the same effect. Whatever. He's got ball joints at the elbows, which gives him a bicep swivel and a little over 90 degrees of bend. Nothing at the waist, obviously. Hips are still on ball joints, which can rotate forward and back only about that far before they bump into things and out to the side. No thigh swivel. The knee is just a hinge that's really tight, and it only gets about that far, so not quite a full 90. And then the knee joints are really tight. And then the feet can still tilt forward and back, but not side to side or anything. So, he's got okay articulation, nothing groundbreaking, but nothing terrible either. He's decent. I've found that the ankles have kind of loosened up on mine over time, so he always wants to kind of like lean back and fall over, especially since he does have this kind of heavy backpack going on. But, usually you can get him standing regardless, not the end of the world. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see kind of an average size deluxe there, pretty much eye to eye with him, which for Rhinox is a little bit small, unfortunately. Here he is again with Transmetal Rat Trap. So you can see definitely not really in scale with how these guys are. Like I said, Rat Trap got a little bit bigger when he got to his Transmetal version, but Rhinox really should be a lot bigger than Rat Trap. To have the two of them like almost eye to eye is just, it doesn't really feel quite right. And then here he is again with Thrilling 30 Rhinox, just so you can see what he looks like with another Rhinox. And yeah, definitely I like this scale better for Rhinox. But yeah, no, considering all things considered, he's a pretty good figure. If you're kind of distancing him from like what he's supposed to be, like from the character from the show, just as a figure, as a toy, I think he's a lot of fun. I don't love that he's got like the screw holes on his shoulders here, but for the most part, I like most other things about him. I mean, his knees could go a little bit further. He's not great in terms of articulation. I've never really liked the saw blade weapon, but I like the rhinoceros mode. I like the tertiary mode. I like the robot mode. It just doesn't really totally feel like Rhinox to me, even if he's got it tattooed on his thigh here. But you know, just as a separate character, I feel like it works pretty well. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Beast Wars Transmetal Rhinox.